Hi friends, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my answer to the question of whether the Ateliers Phileas Yokohama leather A5 notebook cover will fit an A5 Hobonichi 5-year Techo. Earlier this year, I decided to try challenging myself to complete a Hobonichi 5-year Techo. And since I got the book, I have actually been super consistent with filling out my entries. I have had to do a little bit of backfill, but I am completely caught up and I have not missed a single entry. Since this is quite a thick notebook, I initially was hoping that I could get away with not having a cover for it. But after a few months of using the notebook completely on its own, I noticed that the cover of the notebook was starting to get a little bit damaged. And this is mainly because I was storing it vertically on my bookshelf, and the cover is just a little bit wider than the pages of the journal. And so when I was standing it up vertically, it was causing the cover to bend a little bit. And I didn't know that this was going to send me down a rabbit hole of trying different covers, all because I wanted to branch out from the Hobonichi offerings and see if there was something else that I might like for the journal instead. A few videos ago, I had posted an unboxing of Galen leather notebook covers, and while one of the covers that I had picked up in the second sale did technically fit, I could only fit the back cover into the Galen leather notebook cover, and when I stood the book vertically on my bookshelf, I did notice that it was starting to ruin the cover as well. And so I ended up selling that cover, and I came across this Ateliers Phileas Yokohama leather A5 notebook cover in natural based on the recommendation of the store owner from Nomado Store, which is a online and retail store that is located in Belgium. So I ordered this notebook in June. And then I got it delivered to me about a week later. It was selling for 160 euros at the time, which works out to around 230 Canadian. And I did have to pay additional duties and taxes on top of that. So it was definitely on the higher end of what I was hoping to spend on a notebook cover. But because I was planning on keeping this cover for the next 5 years and possibly beyond, I was willing to make that investment. And while I spent quite a lot of time researching other options, ultimately what led me to choose the Ateliers Phileas Yokohama cover was I was looking for something that would be comparable to the Superior Labor natural leather cover that I had picked up for my Hobonichi cousin. What I really liked about that cover is that it's a very soft and thin leather, so it doesn't add a lot of bulk to the book. And I love that it was handmade, and because I had picked the natural leather, I knew that over time it would age beautifully. And so I wanted something very similar for my 5-year because I love the idea of the cover aging over the next 5 years as I fill up the book with memories. So some of the pros for this Ateliers Phileas Yokohama cover is that it is more robust than the Superior Labor. It comes with 3 card slots. It had a closure option, and it also had a pen loop, which I didn't care for initially, but I actually grew to appreciate a lot. It's also high quality leather. According to the owner, The leather comes from the same tannery that the Superior Labor uses, and it is handmade in the Kansai region in Japan. And he described this leather as feeling very silky, and I completely agree with that description. It feels so buttery smooth and luxurious in your hands. So this was definitely a very luxurious leather cover. In terms of some of the cons, it is a little bit more bulky because it does have more structure to it. And, you know, with the card slots and the extra flap and the closure and the pen loop, it was just overall a slightly bigger cover, but it was still a lot thinner, and I preferred it over the Galen leather cover that I had had previously. I also, while I liked that I was able to put both the front and the back covers into the Ateliers Phileas cover, I did notice that it didn't quite fit. But because it was leather, I was really hopeful that it would stretch over time. And since my intention was to use this cover over the next 5 years, I was hopeful that it would eventually mold to fit the book. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I said I was going to answer the question of whether the Ateliers Phileas Yokohama leather A5 notebook cover fits my A5 Hobonichi 5-year Techo. And I will say, after 5 months of using this cover on a daily basis, the answer is no. It does not fit. And maybe 5 months isn't a fair or a long enough time to make a fair assessment, but something I learned in those 5 months of using the notebook is that the stretching would have taken an extremely long time. And unfortunately, I noticed that my 5-year Techo cover was getting further damaged, and I was noticing pretty heavy creases in the cover on the cardboard side, and the cover was starting to completely detach from the inner lining of the notebook. And so I reached back out to the owner of Nomado, and over this entire experience, he's been so responsive, and I think that really tipped me over into wanting to support his business and give this notebook a chance. And also, to be fair to him, he didn't promise it would fit. He said it was larger than the other A5 leather notebook covers that are currently on the market. And so if there was ever one that would fit, it would probably be that one. So yeah, he gave me 2 suggestions. One was to modify the inner cover of my Hobonichi Techo to make it fit in the cover, which if I was planning on keeping it in that cover indefinitely, that definitely could have been an option. But since I could see myself reusing the cover for a new 5-year Techo someday, if I wanted to continue completing these 5-year journals, I wanted to keep the cover intact. So that wasn't an option for me. And the other option that he suggested was to try manually stretching the leather by using a creasing bone, I think it's called. I did a little bit of research and I was hopeful, but I felt like I was in danger of ruining the notebook. And when you actually take the book completely out, and this is something I probably should have done before I even tried to fit my Hobonichi 5-year into the cover, it would have needed to have stretched a lot. So I have decided to admit defeat and stop using this cover for my Hobonichi 5-year. I will share another video that goes over what I have decided to use instead, and I'm really hoping that this is it, and I won't have to hop around in different covers after this one. But yeah, overall, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous cover. And if you're looking for something that feels as soft as the TSL A5 covers, it's definitely comparable, and it definitely feels like a really high quality cover and high quality leather. And I do really love that it was handmade. And for any other A5 notebook, I think it would be a gorgeous cover. Unfortunately, it just did not fit my 5-year, and unless I was willing to modify my 5-year and cut it down, it's not going to be an option for me. So those are my thoughts. I hope this answers, I know that when I started researching for alternative 5-year covers, I didn't feel like there was a lot of information out there. So if you are considering this cover, please know that you may have to modify your book a little bit to make it fit, or maybe have a little more patience than me, or a little more courage to stretch out the cover. And in terms of what I'm going to do with this cover, I haven't decided whether I'm going to keep it or try to sell it, which is actually why I decided not to try stretching it out too much, just because once I did that, if I were to ruin it, then I would have lost the option to rehome it. So that is all I had for you today. If you are considering this notebook, I hope that you find this video helpful. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will respond as soon as I can. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.